Hofstra men's basketball coach, first year of the program, Joe Mihalich. You had a great deal of success, 15 seasons with the Niagara Club. What attracted you to the job at Hofstra, and what are your goals for this program?
Well, you know, Kurt, I said often while being the coach at Niagara, when recruits would say, hey, you ever going to leave? Would you ever leave here? My answer was always the same. It was, well, it would have to be a pretty special place. And after I had a good long conversation with Jeff Hathaway, our director of athletics down in Atlanta, and 10 minutes into the conversation, I knew that Hofstra was that special place.
What style of play would you like to implement at Hofstra on both the offensive and defensive ends of the floor?
Well, you know, you got to dance with the girl you brung, you know, and fortunately for me, I guess the good news and the bad news was that there was only 4 players there when I got there. You know, bad news because there was only 4 players, but good news because now you can go out and maybe get some guys that you, or they're going to play the way you like to play, and that is to play fast, to play up tempo. Now, whether or not we can do it remains to be seen, but that's the idea, is to try to get up and down the floor, and I think it's a fun way to play. It's a fun style to watch, and it's definitely a fun style to coach.
The Pride returns 2 of the CAA's top inside players, Stephen Wakoni and Musa Kone. How have you looked, or how they looked in early practices, and what are the expectations for them from both a playing as well as a leadership standpoint?
Yeah, those 2 guys have been terrific. Stephen Wakoni and Musa Kone have. Now, what we're trying to determine, are they going to be a 2-headed monster where they both kind of share a position? Do we play them together? You know, that's all. You know, this whole work in progress concept is what's going on with that. But they've been terrific. They want to win. They've worked very hard. They take their turns having great days. They beat each other up every day, in a good way. They beat each other up every day, and they're making each other better. So, you know, they've had a good preseason.
With only 5 returning players, or I guess 4, right? Is that right? Several newcomers are going to have the opportunity to see significant playing time. Talk about some of the new guys and what has you excited about them.
Well, you know, some of our new guys are old guys because we have 2 graduate students playing for us. So Dion Nesmith graduated from Monmouth last year and still has some eligibility, so he can play right away. And Zeke Upshaw graduated from Illinois State and is in the same category as Dion. So, you know, those 2 guys are new, but at the same time, they got some miles on their tires, and they, you know, have been through this, and they're good basketball players. So, you know, they've been good as far as picking things up because they've probably done it one way, shape, or form through their careers, and also just understanding college basketball and tough practices and long practices and those kinds of things. So they've been terrific. You know, our team has an interesting dynamic in that we have 4 returning players. We have a walk-on as well. We have 3 freshmen. We have the 2 graduate students. And then we have 3 transfers who make practice better every day. But they tease you because they're probably our 3 best players, and they're not playing this year. So, but it's an interesting dynamic, the team.
Being at Niagara, you certainly were not insulated from the CAA because you came in contact with several of them on the competitive floor in the past, and now you're coaching in this league. What are your impressions of the conference? You know, maybe you haven't stepped on the floor against them this year, obviously, but what type of things do you look for as a now coach in the Colonial?
Well, I mean, I've always been impressed with the Colonial Conference. It's a great bunch of coaches, terrific players, you know, great teams. It's going to be a real challenge, but if you're a good player, if you're a coach that loves a game, you know, this is what you look for. You know, you look for something like that. So, you know, it's a terrific league, and it'll be very competitive. You're going to have to play well to do well, and that's the challenge for all of us.
All right. Coach Joe Mihalich, head coach of the Hofstra Pride. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kurt. Appreciate it.